Hello everyone. Welcome back to the Hidden Roots Wellness. Today, we'll discuss about very interesting topic 10 biblical leaves that heal the body and support better gut health. Naturally, part 1. Have you ever noticed how many times the Bible mentions a leaf and how many times we read straight past it without stopping to ask why it is there? We picture gold. We picture altars, robes, thrones, and burning incense when we think of anything sacred. But tucked into some of the most important scenes in Scripture is something far smaller and far easier to overlook. A leaf. Not a jewel pulled from a treasury. Not a scroll hidden in a temple wall. Something green. Something ordinary. Something a person could crush between two fingers without a second thought. And yet, again and again, these leaves show up at the exact moment when the story turns toward healing, toward mercy, toward a second chance. Today we are going to walk through 10 of these leaves, one at a time, in the order the Bible gives them to us. This is not a promise of an overnight cure, and it is not a suggestion that you should throw away anything a doctor has given you. Think of it instead as a slow walk through Scripture with fresh eyes, noticing what generations of readers noticed before medicine had microscopes, and comparing that ancient noticing with what modern research is now starting to confirm. Stay until the 7th leaf, because that one comes with a warning attached to it, a warning wrapped inside one of the sharpest rebukes Jesus ever gave. And stay until the very last leaf, because it closes this journey with a kind of strength that has nothing to do with volume and everything to do with staying rooted when everything around you wants to shake you loose. If ancient wisdom paired with modern science is the kind of thing you want delivered to you every week, this is a good moment to subscribe, because next week's leaf might be the one you needed most. Now let's step into the vision that started it all. The first leaf grows beside a river that should not exist. A prophet named Ezekiel is given a vision, and in that vision he is standing at the threshold of the temple. Beneath his feet, water begins to trickle out from under the doorway, so faint at first that a person could step over it without noticing they had crossed water at all. But the vision keeps moving forward, and so does the river. A guide leads Ezekiel further downstream, and the water that once barely wet his ankles now rises to his knees, then to his waist, and finally into a current too deep and too strong to wade through. This is no ordinary stream. It does not simply pass through the land. It transforms it. Everywhere this water touches, something that was dead begins to breathe again. Fish fill what used to be a lifeless sea. Soil that had given up on growing anything suddenly bursts with green. And running along both banks of this impossible river, Ezekiel sees trees, not one or two, but rows of them, full and thriving. The passage tells us these trees will bear fruit every single month without fail, because their roots are drinking from water that flows directly from the sanctuary. Their fruit becomes food for the body. Their leaves, Scripture says plainly, become medicine. This single image carries enormous weight, because it does not present healing as some separate department of life, locked away and unrelated to everything else. It ties healing directly to a source. The water gives life to the trees. The trees give food to the people. The leaves become the sign that something broken is being restored. Take away the water, and none of the rest happens. There is no fruit without living roots, and no healing leaf without a tree that is actually alive. This lines up surprisingly well with what we now understand about how a leaf actually works. A leaf is not decoration hanging off a branch for beauty. It is where a tree turns sunlight into usable energy, where it manufactures the compounds that protect it from insects, drought, disease, and decay. This is why so many leaves across the plant kingdom are loaded with natural defenses, things like antioxidants, polyphenol, essential oils, and bitter compounds that keep the plant alive under stress. Long before laboratories existed, people noticed that certain leaves seemed to ease a sore throat, calm an upset stomach, or take the edge off inflammation. And we now know that many of those effects trace back to the very compounds of plant. Builds to defend itself. None of this means every leaf is safe, and none of this means you should walk into your backyard and start chewing on whatever is growing there. But the underlying principle in Ezekiel's vision still holds up. A leaf carries a portion of the life of the plant it grew from, and that life can sometimes support the life of the person who uses it wisely. What makes this vision so different from a simple list of home remedies is where the healing begins. It does not begin with a jar on a shelf. It begins with water flowing from a holy place, moving outward until it reaches the driest, most forgotten corners of the land. So often, when something in our body starts hurting, our first instinct is to hunt for a fix aimed directly at that one spot. Aching joints send us searching for a joint cream. Constant tiredness sends us searching for a stimulant. Restlessness sends us looking for something to calm the nerves. Ezekiel's vision quietly challenges that instinct. It suggests that a body running dry does not just need one clever remedy dropped into one specific complaint. It needs its source restored. It needs water, real rest, a rhythm of life that has not been abandoned, and a return to whatever it is that keeps a person rooted instead of scattered. Before chasing the next remedy, this vision invites us to ask a part two harder question first, which is whether the source feeding our whole life is actually flowing the way it should. From this river we move to a second leaf, one that could not look more different on the surface. And yet carries an equally profound weight. This leaf is hyssop, and it shows up at one of the most tense nights in the entire Old Testament. In the book of Exodus, the people of Israel are told to take a bundle of hyssop, dip it into the blood collected in a basin, and use it to mark the doorframes of their homes. This was not a decorative gesture. It was the difference between judgment passing over a household and judgment entering it. A small, unassuming plant became the instrument of protection for an entire nation on its most dangerous night. Centuries later, King David reaches for the same plant in a very different setting. In one of his most personal prayers, after being confronted about his own wrongdoing, David asks to be washed clean with hyssop so that he might finally feel pure again. This is no longer about doorframes and blood. It is about the inside of a person, the part that cannot be scrubbed clean with water alone. Hyssop becomes something more than an herb at this point. It becomes a symbol standing right at the crossing point between the body and the soul, between an outward ritual and an inward change of heart. Whenever hyssop shows up in Scripture, it seems to carry this same longing underneath it, a longing to be made new, to be forgiven, to start again without the old weight still clinging. Modern herbal study looks at hyssop as an aromatic plant whose leaves and flowering tips contain a mix of essential oils, flavonoids, tannins, and other active compounds. Traditional use has often turned to hyssop for supporting the respiratory system, easing a tight chest, soothing a scratchy throat, and gently helping digestion after a heavy meal. There is something worth noticing in the fact that the very fragrance we associate with an herb like this is usually part of the plant's own defense system, built to fend off pests and microbes in the wild. When people brew this fragrance into a mild tea, they are sometimes tapping into that same defensive chemistry in a much gentler form, one that may help the body feel a little more open when breathing feels heavy or tight. Here, though, is where care becomes essential. The spiritual symbolism of hyssop does not mean every form of the plant is automatically safe. A light tea made from dried hyssop leaves is a completely different substance from a concentrated hyssop essential oil. The oil is far more potent can irritate sensitive tissue, and is not appropriate for pregnant women, young children, people managing neurological conditions, or anyone taking medication without first speaking to a qualified professional. Nature holds real power. And power without wisdom can just as easily cause harm as bring relief. There is a deeper lesson hiding inside this small plant, one that goes beyond soothing a throat. So often, the instinct when we feel unwell is to add something new into our routine, another supplement, another vitamin, another formula promising results. Hyssop points towards something almost the opposite. Sometimes restoration does not begin with adding more. It begins with clearing something out first, whether that is physical congestion, emotional heaviness, or old patterns we have been carrying far longer than we realize. Hyssop never needed to be an impressive plant to matter. It did not need towering height or a striking appearance. On the night of the Exodus, it marked the difference between life and death. In David's prayer, it became the language of forgiveness. And in ordinary daily life, its gentle fragrance still reminds us that sometimes the path toward feeling whole again starts with getting clean before anything new is added. The third leaf arrives on the deck of a ship that never sailed anywhere, and yet traveled through the deepest imaginable uncertainty. Picture Noah's Ark after weeks adrift on floodwater with no shoreline in sight. Every familiar landmark has vanished. There is no bird song from a nearby forest, no smoke rising from a distant village, nothing but gray water stretching toward a gray horizon. Inside that wooden hull, the unspoken question pressing on everyone is not simply when the water will go down, but whether anything out there has actually survived. Noah releases a dove to test the world beyond the ark. The first time, it finds nowhere to land and returns with nothing, a quiet sign that the earth is still not ready. But on the next attempt, the dove comes back, carrying something small clenched in its beak, a freshly torn olive leaf. That single leaf changes the entire atmosphere inside the ark. It means that somewhere beneath the retreating water, a tree is still alive and still growing. If a tree can survive that kind of devastation, then perhaps life itself can begin again. Genesis records this moment plainly, telling us the dove returned in the evening with a plucked olive leaf. And through that leaf Noah understood the waters had finally receded. It stands as one of the gentlest images of hope in all of Scripture, not because the leaf itself caused the flood to recede, but because it was the very first evidence that life had survived the judgment. The olive tree carried enormous significance throughout the ancient world well beyond this one moment. Its fruit provided food. Its oil fueled lamps, anointed kings, dressed wounds, and flavored meals. Even its leaves carried their own quiet value long after that flood story ended. Contemporary research on olive leaves has identified a range of plant compounds within them, including oleuropein, hydroxytyrosol, and several flavonoids and polyphenol. These compounds appear to help the tree endure heat, pests, and oxidative stress in its natural environment, and when studied in relation to Part 3 human health, they are frequently discussed for their antioxidant activity and possible support for cardiovascular function, blood pressure regulation, and healthy blood sugar levels. Antioxidants in general play a role in helping the body manage oxidative stress, one of the underlying processes tied to aging, cellular wear, and long-term inflammation. For anyone paying closer attention to heart health and steady energy as the years pass, that kind of support matters. Some modern studies have examined whether olive leaf extract might offer a supportive role for blood pressure and metabolic markers, but this needs to be stated with complete clarity. Olive leaf is not a substitute for prescribed blood pressure medication, heart medication, or diabetes treatment. It functions best as a supportive addition alongside a genuinely healthy lifestyle, one built on solid nutrition, regular gentle movement, sufficient rest, and ongoing medical guidance where needed. In everyday use, olive leaf most commonly appears as a brewed tea or a concentrated extract. Carrying a noticeably bitter, green flavor rather than anything sweet, a bitterness that seems to echo the plant's own protective strength. Anyone currently using blood pressure medication, blood sugar lowering drugs, blood thinners, or managing an existing health condition should talk with a professional before adding it to a regular routine. This image resonates deeply with what many people experience later in life. Not every storm arrives as floodwater. Sometimes it arrives as illness, broken sleep, unpredictable blood pressure, ongoing exhaustion, family stress, or simply the unsettling sense that the body no longer works the way it once did. In moments like that, what a person often needs is not another dramatic promise, but one small, believable sign that recovery is still possible, that the heart can still steady itself, that breathing can still slow down, that green days still remain ahead. So when this leaf enters the conversation about healing, it is not only about polyphenol and cardiovascular studies. It is about a small leaf carried by a dove, delivering the exact message a frightened family had been desperate to receive after far too many days spent surrounded by darkness. The fourth leaf enters the story at a far more painful moment. The very instant humanity first understood shame. Picture the garden before everything changed, where the air carries no weight of fear, where nakedness holds no embarrassment, and closeness with God feels as natural as breathing itself. Everything shifts the moment Adam and Eve eat the fruit they were told to avoid. Their surroundings do not change first. What changes first is how they see themselves. Suddenly aware of their own exposure, they do not run toward God for help. They reach for the nearest covering they can find, which happens to be fig leaves stitched roughly together. Genesis describes this precisely, telling us their eyes were opened, they realized they were exposed, and they sewed fig leaves together to cover themselves. This marks the first appearance of a leaf in the human story after everything fell apart, and it does not appear as a symbol of triumph. It appears as an improvised, temporary cover, used to hide what someone desperately did not want seen. This makes the fig leaf one of the most quietly devastating images in Scripture, because from this point forward humanity keeps repeating the same instinct. We hide weakness. We hide illness. We hide the fear that comes with aging. We hide the exhaustion behind a mask of composure. The fig leaf becomes the symbol of self-rescue. And also proof that covering something up is never the same as actually healing it. The fig tree reappears throughout Scripture in far more positive contexts too, offering fruit, shade, and a sense of settled peace within a household. The image of a family resting safely under their own vine and fig tree often represents an entire season of security. And yet the same tree can also expose emptiness, as in the moment Jesus encounters a fig tree covered in leaves but bearing no fruit at all. This gives the fig its striking double meaning, capable of representing both flourishing life and hollow appearance. From a scientific angle, fig leaves have long held a place in traditional medicine, particularly around metabolism, digestion, and blood sugar balance. The tree, part of the ficus family, contains flavonoids, phenolic compounds, and various antioxidants. Some preclinical research has explored whether fig leaf extracts might influence blood sugar, cholesterol, inflammation, and oxidative stress, suggesting the leaves may help the body manage certain metabolic pressures. Even so, fig leaves are not a treatment for diabetes and should never replace prescribed medication, particularly for anyone already taking drugs that lower blood sugar, since combining the two carelessly could push levels dangerously low. The deeper truth of the fig leaf, though, has little to do with blood sugar. It concerns the difference between concealment and genuine restoration. Adam and Eve's fig leaves could hide their bodies from human eyes, but they could not repair what had broken between them and their creator. We still stitch together our own version of fig leaves today. Some of us mask exhaustion with caffeine. Some push through pain rather than address it. Some hide the fear of growing older behind a confident front. Some avoid checkups altogether rather than face what a doctor might find. Covering a symptom is never the same as healing what caused it, and the fig leaf gently insists that we stop mistaking one for the other. The fifth leaf is tiny, fragrant, and completely at home in an ordinary kitchen. Yet Jesus used it to expose something far more serious than a simple oversight. Speaking to religious teachers who prided themselves on their strict observance. He pointed out that they carefully measured out 1/10 of their mint, dill, and cumin, yet had neglected far weightier matters such as justice, mercy, and faithfulness. In another account, he repeats a similar warning, naming mint specifically while pointing out a heart that has drifted from part for love and fairness toward others. This is a sharp contrast
Behold,
to sit
I will
with.
cause breath
Mint
to
freshens
enter
the
into
breath,
you,
yet
and you shall
Jesus
live.
uses it to describe
I
a
will lay
life that has
sinews
grown
upon
stale
you,
before
and cover
God.
you with skin.
A person can be meticulous about ritual down to the smallest garden herb, while still remaining cold toward the suffering of someone right in front of them. And no amount of pleasant fragrance can cover that kind of neglect. This is what makes mint one of the more layered leaves in this entire journey. It is not only about digestion or fresh breath. It is about balance. A life cannot thrive by tending only to the body while ignoring the soul, and in the same way, religious devotion cannot survive on outward precision alone, while mercy quietly starves in the background. Scientifically, mint earns its reputation honestly. Its cooling sensation comes primarily from natural compounds called menthol and menthone, which create that familiar feeling of freshness and clarity, which is why mint shows up in teas, lozenges, oils, and countless digestive remedies. Traditionally, people have turned to mint after meals to ease bloating, calm mild nausea, and leave the stomach feeling lighter. Menthol appears to gently relax the smooth muscle lining the digestive tract, which is part of why some people feel noticeably less cramping and discomfort after eating it, and this effect has even drawn scientific interest around certain digestive conditions when used. In a carefully measured, enteric-coated form rather than as a loose home remedy. Even so, mint is not universally beneficial. People who deal with acid reflux may actually find their symptoms worsen after using mint, since it can relax the valve between the stomach and esophagus in some individuals, allowing acid to travel upward more easily. This single detail carries an important lesson on its own. A plant that helps one person may aggravate another, and no single leaf works identically for everybody. For those without reflux concerns, a warm, mild cup of mint tea after dinner can become a small, grounding ritual, gentler on the stomach than reaching for something sweet or overly rich. Still, mint remains a supportive habit rather than a treatment for any serious digestive disorder. And persistent pain, unexplained weight change, or ongoing reflux all always deserves proper medical attention rather than a cup of tea. There is something worth sitting with here about modern life in general. We can obsess over our diet, our skin, our breath, and the image we present to others, while quietly neglecting them. Deeper forces that throw an entire life out of balance. Things like resentment, pride, isolation, or indifference toward the people around us. A sprig of mint can freshen a moment, but only mercy and honesty can give an entire life its lasting fragrance. From mint we move to a leaf so small it would be easy to miss entirely. Yet Jesus placed it inside one of his most pointed warnings anyway. Dill is an unassuming kitchen herb, the kind chopped finely and sprinkled over a dish to soften a strong smell or add warmth to a simple meal. Picture a household kitchen at the close of a long day, herbs growing along a low wall in the courtyard, a mother snapping off a few sprigs of dill and dropping them into a simmering pot, the aroma rising gently rather than announcing itself the way stronger spices might. Jesus names dill directly, again alongside mint and cumin, telling religious leaders that their meticulous tithing of the smallest garden herbs had come at the cost of justice, mercy, and genuine faith. What stands out here is that Jesus never says measuring out a tenth of dill was wrong in itself. He says it should never have replaced attention to what truly mattered. The teachers in question were precise enough to calculate a tithe down to a single garden herb, yet somehow overlooked basic compassion toward the people right in front of them. They could be exact about a leaf while being deeply wrong about people, careful with the letter of the law while distant from its actual spirit. Dill, then, becomes a leaf of proportion. It teaches that small habits genuinely matter. But they were never meant to replace the larger things they are supposed to support. Eating well matters. Using herbs thoughtfully matters. But a person who carefully manages every meal while carrying ongoing bitterness toward others has not actually reached the root of healing, no matter how disciplined their diet looks from the outside. From a practical standpoint, dill has long been valued for gentle digestive support, easing bloating and calming the stomach after a heavy meal thanks to natural compounds like carvone and limonene along with various antioxidants. As digestion tends to slow with age, small dietary habits such as this one, a pinch of dill with fish, a sprinkle in a warm soup, can meaningfully ease heaviness after eating without requiring any dramatic intervention. It offers a small window into how people once cared for their bodies gradually and gently through daily food choices rather than waiting for discomfort to escalate before reaching for something stronger. Dill was never meant to replace medical treatment for any digestive condition, but it remains a fitting symbol of how the smallest daily habits, when consistent, quietly shape long-term well-being, provided they are paired with the bigger things in life that matter even more: patience, kindness, and a heart willing to notice the people right in front of us. Not every leaf mentioned in Scripture is meant to be turned into a home remedy, and the seventh leaf on this list exists specifically to make that point. Rue carries none of the gentleness we saw in mint or dill. It has a sharp scent, a genuinely bitter taste, and a long history in traditional herbal practice as a plant capable of producing a fairly strong effect on the body. For that reason alone, rue deserves to be introduced not as an Part 5 easy addition to anyone's routine, but as a leaf that demands caution before anything else.